Racked up meat.
All right, we back for another episode of Never Stop Dreaming. I got my guy here, Will Roundtree. How you doing today, sir?
Oh man, I'm doing incredible. Thank you for asking.
Man, so I've been following your journey for a minute, man, and I really want to touch on some good topics today. As far as a lot of people love to jump on things when there's a trend or a wave, but that could be detrimental to their success. And depending on you just jumping on a trend just for the short term benefit. But especially in the credit business, there's some people that come and go. And so for you, it seemed that you have rooted and grounded yourself in this business, man. So could you expand on like what got you into the credit business?
Absolutely. First of all, for those who don't know me, my name is Will Roundtree. I'm originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And, just like everyone else, I was told, go to school, get good grades, get a good job. Quickly found out that that was not the path, or that was not the cards that was, laid out for me. And so started working at an early age, started working for a company. I thought I was going to retire from there. And then after about 8 years, the company just abruptly shut down, and they have been in business for over 75 years. So just like anyone else who's ever went through a layoff or fired or whatever, I was kind of stuck and just was scrambling. So I stumbled upon entrepreneurship, and I often say I got into entrepreneurship through network marketing. And I didn't make any money, but the personal development that I got from network marketing changed my life. And while I was in network marketing, I met a gentleman who was a real estate attorney, and he was also an investor. And he told me, he said, "Will, eventually credit will become the new dollar." Now, I didn't know what he meant by that at the time. And so fast forward, this company I was working for shut down in 2003, was in network marketing, ended up moving to Las Vegas in 2005. And I quickly found out why credit was important. I couldn't rent an apartment because my credit was horrible. Couldn't buy a
Mm-hmm.
car. Would have needed a co-signer. I would have had to put like 30% down. And so I was like, man, something has to change, because, they say the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. And credit kept coming up as an issue. Now, mind you, this was 2005. So credit wasn't as popular as it is now. And so decided to start learning why credit was important, because that jewel has stuck in my mind when my mentor said credit will become the new dollar. So started going to the library, start digging and researching, eventually start working on my credit. And it took me 2.5 years to work on my personal credit. I mean, I had a
Okay.
410 credit score. I had an automobile that was repossessed. I had a judgment against me. I considered filing bankruptcy. But then I started to learn that, unless your wages are being garnished, bankruptcy shouldn't have been my option. So that's
Mhm.
when I started to really, learn that I could restore my credit. So, like I say, it took me about 2.5 years, but then once my credit actually got restored, I saw the benefits of what good credit can do for you. My insurance rates went down. I was able to finally get my own apartment. I was able to purchase a vehicle. And I was like, man, if this information was valuable for me, I know it could help other people. Because again, this was something I wasn't taught growing up. They don't teach you this in school. My parents never taught us about credit. And so it just became something that I became passionate about, because I saw how it positively affected and impacted my life by understanding what good credit can do for you. So that's kind of how, my story led me down this path of credit.
Okay, man. So, I mean, for somebody that's looking at, I'm not gonna get into too many specifics, but let's say somebody, would you say personal business and personal credit and business credit is kind of run congruent with each other, or they're totally separate animals?
So they're the same, but they're different. The reason
Okay.
they're the same is because your personal credit plays the largest significance on you being able to get access to credit for your business. Because here's the thing, people think when they hear business credit, they assume, hey, I'm going to go and get a bunch of credit without using my social. And your personal guarantor, which essentially is when the bank is still going to run your personal social security number, is utilized because after the housing market crash and the Patriot Act and all of these different things, which changed the landscape of how credit is leveraged and utilized, the banks started making sure that the person can personally guarantor it in case if something happens. Because a lot of the times, or what people may or may not know, is that business credit is not collateralized. They're usually not asking you to put up, your house, your car, or your business, unless you're going to get, like a loan against your business. But the way business credit is broken down, it's really a form of creative financing. And I was actually fortunate enough to really learn that strategy by by watching people who have been in the industry long before me. And I often say that because a lot of times people think I just came up with these concepts, and it's not. I've watched people who made a lot more money than me for a very long time leveraging credit. I mean, this goes all the way back to how Donald Trump got his start. He overstood the concept of leveraging credit. People
Mm-hmm.
like the Robert Kiyosaki's, the whole Rich Dad Poor Dad series, and understanding the cash flow quadrant, and being able to purchase and invest in real estate was all through using business credit, for a lack of better words. But the thing I'm always telling people is that business credit is really just getting credit for your business. It has nothing to do with making it completely separate. But to your question, they run congruent, but they also have a parallel impact and how you're actually able to get credit for your business.
Okay. So my next question for the people out there that's using Credit Karma, like what is your advice to keep using them? Look for other avenues for people that's just starting to rebuild.
So I often tell people Credit Karma is better than nothing,
Hmm.
but it wouldn't be my only resource. And I get why people use Credit Karma. It's free, but just like
Hmm.
with anything else, you get what you pay for.
Right.
Now, here's something that people may or may not know. Credit Karma is really just a credit card meal. They get our information and they sell it to these credit card companies. And every time you go and apply through Credit Karma's platform, Credit Karma gets a check. Now, I'm not
Mm.
mad at them because they've created the platform, but it's done such a disservice because they don't utilize all of the algorithms to give you an accurate depiction of what your credit profile looks like. And the most commonly used credit bureau, which is Experian, they don't give you access to that information. And so I say it's better than nothing because it at least gives you an aspect of being able to monitor your credit. So if something lands on there or whatever the case may be, I personally believe everybody should, if of course it's within the budget, should invest in a paid credit monitoring service. Now you're going to invest anywhere between 15 to about $30 a month. They have some that's a little bit more in depth, like myfico.com, which you could pay upwards of about 50 to $60 a month. And for those people who say, well, that's expensive, I say, if you got a cable, if you got satellite, if you smoke cigarettes, like if you have any vices that is not contributing to you financially, credit monitoring is not expensive. It's just we have to realize what is priority. And once you start to understand that your credit score really dictates the quality of life you live, you will then see it as a necessity, and you will figure out how to factor that into the budget. Hey, you may want to get rid of some of your premium cable channels so you can, make sure you can afford credit monitoring. But
Right.
going back to your original question, Credit Karma is not the end all be all, and I don't think that people should solely rely their credit profile solely just off of the information that comes from Credit Karma. It doesn't give you enough information.
Okay. With us being in the information age now, I mean, there's thousands of videos on YouTube. Um, for the people who, because I hear this from people a lot, I take with a grain of salt. Can you explain the origins of, I think it's called a CPN?
So a CPN is a credit privacy number.
Okay.
And essentially, in layman's terms, and not to make it too technical, it's a secondary number to a social security number.
Okay.
It got popularized primarily because people who go into witness protection, high level security clearance people who are individuals who are government officials. Some celebrities have utilized them to conceal their personal information and personal identity. And so it's something that got popularized once people figured out how to manipulate that number.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people utilize a CPN because they don't want to do the shadow work and fix their own personal credit.
Mm.
And banks, and here's the thing I tell people, banks change their guidelines because they're paying attention. The banks see the same videos we see.
Uh-huh.
So when people are on the internet coming up with these plays trying to defraud the banks, trust me, they're watching the exact same videos. I don't know why people think that YouTube is just for individuals consumption. The people who the vice president of banks, the underwriters at these uh, financial institutions, they see the videos. Navy Federal has an entire task force for all of these Navy Federal plays that people think is a secret. They're
Mm-hmm.
not. And the same thing with CPNs. And so you have more and more banks who have sophisticated software on the back end that they can utilize to determine whether someone is using their actual social security number or a CPN. And again, a lot of the times people utilize CPN because the primary use of how it's marketed, because people don't want to fix their credit and or they're trying to defraud the banks.
Mm.
That's really why people are utilizing CPNs. Now, there are circumstances where a person is utilizing it rightfully so, and I definitely get that. But a small percentage of that is true. A lot of people sell that service as a, hey, you can get out of jail free with your bad credit by setting up and purchasing the CPN. Like, and a lot of the times that type of stuff gets people jammed up. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's countless amount of stories of people who went to jail because when you complete a credit card application, any misinformation of you as an individual is considered fraud, and this is
Mm.
people can go to jail for that. So when people ask me about CPNs, I choose just not to even do business with them. And
Right.
again, I'm not saying that they're bad, and they are not illegal. It's just people have utilized them for illegal things because they don't want to do the shadow work and actually fix their personal credit.
Okay, right on, man. I appreciate you breaking it down for all the people out there because, like I said, we have these things available, this access to information available to us, but some is good and some is not as good. And so, the people have to, learn to how to decipher some of that information so
Well,
so
with
they
that
don't
being
end up committing fraud.
Yeah, and 100% true. And this is what I always say to people, because I have people who try to challenge me on that all the time. And I'm like,
Yeah.
look, I've never said it was bad. And
Right.
so you have to look at the good and bad in every scenario. So, for example, fire can kill you and it can
Correct.
also help you and save your life. Water can kill you and it can save your life. A CPN can benefit you and it can put you in jail. So you just have to figure out what side of the balance scale you want to be on. And we got to start utilizing common sense.
Right. Right. So for the people out there that are, let's say somebody got on the path, righteous path, and is fixing their credit and has fixed their credit, and they want to get into the business side of things. I mean, how would they get started or go about that?
When you say the business side of things, what do you mean?
Learning to become learning to become an owner in the credit business themselves as to help other people.
So I think the first thing is that people who get into this space, a lot of the times they get into it for one or two reasons. One, they have a knack for genuinely wanting to help individuals because they saw the impact and how it changed their life.
Right.
And then you have a lot of people who get in just because it's a hustle. Sometimes I say like the credit space is like the new trap house for the internet, unfortunately. I mean, because almost everybody who has some stigma attached to their name is a credit expert now.
Hmm.
And there's really no certification needed. There's no type of, you know what I'm saying? Like when I first got in this space, and a lot of people don't know, I've been in this industry for over 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like it used to be a black cloud over telling someone you do credit. It
Mm.
wasn't glamorized. Now saying you're a credit repair expert is like it's almost the equivalent of being a VP of a Fortune 500 company. We've
Mm-hmm.
glamorized that industry, and rightfully so, because someone who takes that industry for good can do a lot of benefit and help to not just for people, but even our community, because there is such a lack of representation, especially people who, black and brown people. Like back when I first got in this space, there were no blacks really talking or educating people on credit.
Right.
Now, I often tell people one of the things that separates me, because I really don't pay attention to what everybody else is doing, is that I'm genuinely trying to educate people about the process. Because statistically, 60% of people who go through credit repair end up right back in the same situation.
Mm.
The credit repair is just a band aid.
Mm-hmm.
The education is how you actually understand why their credit gets tarnished, how to maintain it, why credit is important. Because I think so many people have such a bastardized viewpoint of what credit is for. The internet and people have glamorized it almost kind of like a luxury type of strategy to create a fictitious lifestyle
Mm-hmm.
of like, hey, let me show you how to travel for free using credit. Hey, let me show you how to live a life of abundance using credit. But the thing that nobody really pays attention and digs into is they don't do the shadow work of really understanding what credit is meant to be utilized for, and it's really just a tool. So
Mm-hmm.
going back to when I said that fire can hurt you or it can help you, credit is the exact same way.
Right.
Most people, well, let me not say most. A lot of people who get credit for the purpose of business credit have no type of strategy. They don't even have a business. They have no concept of how to run a business, nor how to even pay the credit back.
Right.
So now there's an entire culture of credit and debt, just from a standpoint of because it's cool. And this is why so many people have gotten caught in this financial ruin or debt trap. But then understanding the concept of what credit can be utilized for, why people use credit, how wealthy people have used credit, how to use credit in structured debt. Like nobody really talks about that path and that avenue. And so going back to your question and how someone can really get into the business of this and make it and run it like a business. First, a lot of people getting in this space don't really run it as a business. It goes back to a hustle because you can make quick money.
Mm.
When you really structure yourself like a business, credit is really just, at least for me, credit was really the springboard for me to get people's attention, to show them how to really create income leveraging credit, how
Okay.
to how to how to start businesses, how to grow their businesses, how to, it's a tool. And so that's really what separates us. But to go how one gets started, first they need to really look at what their end goal is for what they want to get out of this space and being able to fix people credit. Are you doing it just as a money grab, or are you really trying to help people? Are you doing it because you have an end goal on? And then what's the next step of, fixing credit? Are you trying to help people become homeowners? Are you trying to help people, are you teaching them about debt? Are you setting them up on budget so they don't go back into to credit debt? So it has to be bigger than just wanting to fix credit so you can make a couple dollars. Because
Right.
people who go with that path, and this is why you can go on the internet and look at 10 people who post about credit today, and I guarantee you in 90 days they will not be talking about credit anymore, because
Mm.
it's such a cyclical cycle of people who get into it for a money grab, and they really not understanding or overstanding that credit can be a tool, and then it's a stepping stone of someone to help them grow financially, but nobody thinks about it in that capacity.
Okay. Right on. I respect that. Man, I got one more hot topic for you. student loan forgiveness. Can you touch on that? Your thoughts about, where it has the potential to go, how it could potentially help some people that may be at a standstill with it.
So we can look at this two different ways. Now, I can just give you what I think is the real problem because I'm not a government official, I'm not a politician. So how it can help the economy, is it good or bad for the economy? I don't know because I don't dig into the numbers of that aspect of it. But this is what I can say. I think the real problem is we need to address student loan debt before we even decide to go to college.
Mm,
Like the real issue is are we really using student loan debt as a method of really going to school to obtain information that we think is going to change our lives, or do we go to school because and get student loan debt because that's what our parents told us we were supposed to do? Do we go and get student loan debt and take out a bunch of loans because we're living off of it? I mean, nobody is having those conversations.
hmm
Like I know a lot of people who would go and get a bunch of student loan debt and drop the classes so that they can get a refund check of the
mm,
student loan money. You know, I know people who go and get student loan and go to school because that's what their parents told them to do. So we have to first really look at the root of, you know, how it got to that. You know, I often tell my clients who have children who are getting ready to go to school, they need to start looking at college like a business decision. You know, do
yeah,
you have to go to this school because of the name? Because if you can go to a local college and spend a fraction, if that's the route you want to go, why is it that we got to go and spend 25,000 a semester when you can spend 5,000 a semester? Is this degree going to have a return on investment? Meaning
mm,
at the end of your college career, if your student loan debt is 200,000, but the max you can make in this space where you're going to get a degree is 40,000, those numbers don't add up. And
correct.
so I think we need to look at the prerequisite of why people are still falling for that debt trap of student loan debt. But to answer your question, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Yeah, I mean, I think helping people, you know, get rid of their student loan debt can be beneficial, especially for our community. But I don't think it's going to be actually practical. It stimulates the economy, you know, because it's government debt. You can't even discharge it in bankruptcy.
Mm,
So there's a lot of things within our economic ecosystem that's reliant on student loan debt, you know, and
yeah.
it's a way to keep people enslaved financially. But here's the crazy part about it. We have people who are scared to use debt, or as I call it, good debt, to 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 build a business, but they'll go and continue to pile on bad debt, which is student loan debt, to go and get a $3 raise. So it's so many different things that have to be looked upon as opposed to just, hey, should we forgive student loan debt? Because it's people today who are looking at this student loan debt problem, but we're still pushing their kids to go to college to get a degree that they know is going to be outdated by the time they graduate. So it's bigger than just student loan forgiveness. We need to educate ourselves on the economic catastrophe that student loan debt can cause individuals and their families, especially as they get later in their life. The debt to income ratio impacts them. I mean, there's so many different trickle down effects that student loan debt has done to a lot of people.
Okay, right on, man. And my I said that was my last one, but this really my last one because this is getting really good, man. FICO 10. What can you tell us about it?
I tell people don't worry about it unless it actually happens.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like we as individuals, we as humans, they say 60% of the things that we worry about never happen. You know,
Uh-huh.
we saw this with the Vantage score. Everybody was scrambling. A lot of people are, because they're new to this credit game, they don't understand that back in like 2005, 2006, 2007, the Vantage score came out and how it was supposed to change the complexity of how creditors look at how they want to lend money and all of that, because it was supposed to be a little bit more conservative scoring model. Well, it never got instituted. And why is that? Well, because the only way banks and creditors make money is by being able to lend money. They make money off the interest, they charge points. So the FICO 10, yeah, that may be another credit scoring model that they use, but that doesn't mean all of the lenders are going to utilize them. Now, the only thing that I do tell people to do is to, no matter what the credit scoring model changes to, just make sure your credit is in position. So why get up in arms worrying about a FICO 10 when you're not even worried about your regular FICO score right now? So, right. so like, again, it goes back to getting prepared and positioning yourselves, because if you do everything you're supposed to do with your FICO score, the FICO 10 won't even have any impact, because all it is that it is going to be able to look at the past 2 years of what your primary profile looks like in layman's terms. So, for example, it's going to impact people who only want to put a bunch of authorized users on their credit to prop up their score. And I often tell people that that's like putting lipstick on a pig. It's still a pig. So if you got bad credit and you're trying to put a bunch of trade lines and authorized users on there, it does nothing for your credit profile, whether you use FICO 10 or FICO 8 or whatever. So to answer your question, it really is just focus on fixing your credit, and the FICO 10 will have little to no impact on you no matter what.
Okay, right on, man. I appreciate that. So, Will, before we go, where can the people find you, get in contact with you at?
So they can follow me across all social media platforms, Mr. Will Roundtree. There's several fake profiles out there, so make sure you do your due diligence. But at Mr. Will Roundtree, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and I got a ton of free content, ton of information. And one of the things I tell people is that when you follow me, my goal really is not just to give you some plays, because I don't believe in plays, but I'm gonna give you some concepts that if you follow them, it's almost impossible for your situation not to change for the better.
Right on. Will, we appreciate your time, man. I thank you for just being a guest of the Never Stop Dreaming podcast.